Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. Today we're going to continue working on these doors because I want them to be done. I want them to be good and finished. And the only thing I like more than good unrusty doors is new tools. And I have secured some new tools to help me in the process of fixing these doors. Last time you saw me weld in this new piece of metal to the bottom of this door, but we hadn't quite finished just yet. I mean, as you can tell by the fact that it's only lightly tacked in place at the moment. But if we open the door, but upon closer inspection, it is certainly not quite complete. I had started to try and pinch in this corner, and I noticed things were starting to turn into a bit of a disaster. It's hard to capture in video, but I was starting to actually dent my metal here and starting to do some weird things. So I decided to do a little bit of research and figure out a better way. So with frustrations mounting last time, as I had screwed up a door screwed up a door skin and cut it wrong, and then kind of started to have troubles with the rolling over of the edge, which didn't surprise me. I knew that was going to be an interesting thing. I decided to take to Google to probably try to find a better hammer and dolly set, or see if there's any magical tools out there that could make this process a little easier. Turns out this is an entire industry. Skinning doors is a thing. I am not an auto body expert. I have very little experience with it. I just kind of do my own thing, and good enough is usually good enough for me. Well, yeah, like I said, this is a thing. Doors are so frequently the thing that gets bashed in or dented, damaged or rusted on cars that they sell door skins for a ton of different vehicles out there. And it's kind of the same process where you unwrap the door skin and then fold a new one back over it. Well, it turns out there is a tool out there that helps you fold over the edge. I don't know if this tool is good. All I know is the first thing I saw was a very cheesy TV commercial for it, which is always a great sign. I definitely trust anything that has a cheesy TV commercial better than anything else out there. And then I found, some reviews of it that were, this is the best thing ever. And then a ton of reviews that were like, this is a total waste of time. I've been doing doors for my whole life, and this thing didn't help me at all. Well, I haven't been doing doors my whole life. This is number one. So I figured, why not try to give myself a little bit of help with the skin zipper? Don't go Googling that on your own. When I first saw, literally the first thing I saw for this was a commercial on YouTube for the skin zipper. I was like, interesting, okay, all right. Let me Google this and see if I can find, don't do it. Don't Google skin zipper, unless you're into that kind of thing, in which case the world is your oyster. So for the price of $15, this skin zipper arrived at my door to help me skin my door in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Now this isn't even a whole door. This is just like 4 inches of a door, so this should be like 1 minute, right? I kind of doubt it. Instructions? Nope. Well, unless you count step 1, use this side, step 2, use this side as instructions. That's about the best you got. But if you would like the full instructional video, please use the QR code. I will certainly not be doing that. This is an air hammer tool. So this shank design right here is what is commonly used for air hammers. And I have an air hammer. So the air hammer is essentially that. Usually you're going to use it for unstucking something that's really stuck, or trying to peel something apart. Usually it's used for destruction, is what I'm saying. Usually you're throwing an angry end on this thing and just bashing the crap out of something. I think the last time I used one of these was actually on this truck when we were trying to get the rear axles out. We were using this to try and and break free. I don't remember what exactly we were trying to break free. It was something to do with the plate for the axle. What did it end up being? What was the part that was stuck for that? I guess it was just that the studs were really bound up, is all I can remember. It's amazing how fast you forget terrible things like that. So instead of using one of these chisels, we are going to use the skin zipper. Now this has the steel shaft, but this piece here is fiberglass. I have no idea how it's going to work. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I understand the basic theory of it, the principle of it. Let me get you in tighter. So now I've already started the process here of hammering this lip over. Now what I think I needed was a dolly to put on this side to hammer against so that the door wasn't flexing and basically nullifying the hammering I was doing. The corner, I don't know exactly how I was going to solve that problem. The problem I was running into was in order to get this seam really tight like it's supposed to be, if you look up at the existing door skin, you can see it's a really tight fold there. It's supposed to just, almost become one piece around the edge. I was unable to do that with my hammer. So what is this thing supposed to do? Well, when you go at the straight angle here, it's just going to constantly hammer this in and push the metal in between these folds. In the middle here, you can see it's at a 45-degree angle. Perhaps you can see that there. And then as you roll it over to the side, it pinches it in. So the first step is to just try to get it all to that 45-degree angle. And then the next step is going to be to attack it from this angle. And then that will finish pinching it over the edge. That's the theory anyway. I have no expectations, but at least it's an option. All right, well, let me try to get ye old compressor going here. I'm going to use the old one that's outside, make sure it's up to snuff. This is like one area of the garage I have not de-spiderwebbed yet, and I don't know why, but it's a little spooky over here. Well, nothing came jumping out at me today. All right, well, while I'm waiting for that to come up to pressure, let's look at something else real quick. So I had actually mentioned in a previous video how I was having some problems with my mic pack and how the clip kept falling off and breaking, all that stuff. You guys offered a ton of suggestions, and I don't have it with me. But the number one thing was a walkie-talkie holster, and that worked out awesome. The walkie-talkie holster was definitely miles above the clip that I was previously using. I don't bash it into things and it doesn't fall off as much. Well, now we've got an upgrade beyond there, because basically the second I released that video, our previous friend, if you watch Around When Parked, our friend of the channel, Piece of Craft Leather, said, give me the dimensions of that thing, and I want to try and make a holster for it. And not only did Piece of Craft Leather, or Jan, make my holster of my dreams out of leather, but I also got some cool keychains out of the scrap leather, I guess, that was part of the project. But here it is. I can't explain to you how hard it is to film this, but there is a leather mic receiver, sender, transmitter, box thing, holster. Handcrafted. And you can see it's got like a snap on it. So I can take it out, change the batteries, and I wrapped the extra cable up in there. And it's on my belt so it doesn't fall off. So that's really awesome. Thank you so much for making that. You said thank you for the opportunity to make this. No, thank you for making it. And a cool couple like lanyards or keychain thingamajobbers. Can I get that to focus? I think I did it. That's a me. I'm that person. Fancy. Very cool. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for making that. It will make my life a lot better, as I don't bash this against things and it doesn't fall to the ground anymore. Hopefully it will prolong the life of this mic pack because it's been so great. This wireless mic thing has been earth-shattering. Earth-shattering? Earth-shattering sounds bad. It's been life-changing for me here shooting video in the garage. So thank you so much. We climbing. I don't have a regulator over here for this compressor. I actually don't know that this compressor has a regulator. I'm kind of concerned that this thing's just gonna like keep building pressure and explode. What's a usual compressor stop at? Like 150? Something like that? We're about to find out. I wonder how little of it was recording. So this has kind of left me with a nightmare, unfortunately. So the problem is kind of twofold. Number one, this metal is quite thick, and it seems like maybe this wasn't designed with something that thick in mind, or maybe I'm just not running it at enough pressure. But the main problem is it's trying to flatten this side out, which is not what we want. We want it to continue to curve down. So you can see it's basically put a straight lip across the bottom of the door. Now I can fix that, but it's gonna make a ton more work for me. And I don't think that is the intended result here. I think the intended result would be that it would keep the outside fascia as normal as it should be. I'm thinking maybe I should have been using the device at an angle like this instead of at an angle like this. So I've got a decision to make now. Do I continue with this piece and try to fix it, or is it at this point in my best interest to abandon this piece and start over again? That's where I'm at right now. Also, my compressor is giving out. So the decision that I came to was that I should just try to make the best of what I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the weld on the seam, at least get it to the point where it's ready for, final grinding and whatnot, and it is sealed. Get the lip wrapped up as much as I can, and then move on to doing the fender repair. If this panel is too bad and I can't fix it, then that's something we'll move on to in the future. But for now, I'd like to just make the most of it and try to use what we've got. So when it comes to the repair on the fender, what I've decided to do is to take a chunk out of the door that basically matches the profile on the fender. That body line continues forward in a pretty straightforward way. It's not going to be 100% the same, but it's going to be close enough that I won't have to do any metal shaping or any work like that, which is convenient to say the least. It's not going to be a perfect process. There's probably going to have to be some moving around of metals to get it to all line up, but I think this is probably the way to go, and it's a nice distraction from the disaster that was the door. It certainly does feel a little bit bad using the old doors that I had as patch panels, basically, but I honestly have no real use for another set of doors, and there are lots of these around, and replacement panels available for all of them, so you gotta do what you gotta do. So as you saw there, I decided to go ahead and cut the fender out into the shape of the piece that I cut out of the door. Not only does that give me an easier time to get that piece to fit into the fender, but also it lets me cut out a little bit more of the area that was affected. The more rust you can cut out, the better chance you have of not having it come back in the future. So it's probably not going to take a master's degree in observancy to realize that things have not quite gone to plan here. I am now at a point at which I have 2 panels in on the passenger side, but we are nowhere near complete and have certainly run into some pretty major issues. Namely, I'm out of gas for the welder, so I need to use the truck to go get gas for the welder. But here's where we stand as of right now. So the skin zipper, bad idea, real bad idea. I would say I'm a sucker for advertising there, but I was at a point where I was kind of out of ideas and just needed something to help me get through that process, and that wasn't it. Maybe that tool works for some things. Like, I'm sure it has a purpose, and I'm sure that it works in some situations. This is not one of them, and I should have realized that. I realize now why it doesn't work for my situation, and I'm only disappointed in myself for not realizing it before. But let's look at the door here. Well, let me show you what it looks like as of now. So I went ahead and sprayed a little dusting of some white primer on there so you can see what the deal is. And you can tell, yeah, we got the panels are indeed in. There is no major hole in the fender, and the bottom of the door is essentially one piece now. But if you look closely, you'll see the most obvious thing is this crease right here. And that crease is from where the tool crimped the metal basically on the wrong side. It was supposed to crimp the back side, but it instead also crimped the front side. And that wasn't great. Now in the front corner here, we ended up with some dents and some little marks and stuff like that. That's to be expected, and from what I can tell, when you're doing door skins, you're going to end up with stuff like that. You just have to do the body work to fix it. The other side, the back corner, went really wrong. That tool basically caught that edge and just mangled it. So now I have myself a ton of body work to do back there. And I mean, that's not the end of the world. I can fix that stuff. I've done that a million times before. I'm way more comfortable with that than I am the metal work, but really sucks to put new metal on the truck and have that be the bad part of the truck. So as tempted as I am to just like cut the bottom of this door off and start over again, that's not in the spirit of what I'm doing here. That's a waste of money and a waste of time. So I'm just gonna work with what I got, make it as good as I can, and move on from there. The fender panel, that's going fine. I could finish that out. I just ran out of gas for the welder, so just got it lightly tacked in place. I got a little bit more of a gap down here than I want, but I've worked with worse than that in the past. I can fix that. It'll be good to go. So the fender is fine, but yeah, I'm pretty bummed, pretty disheartened about the way that turned out. And I think what happens is that tool would work fine. Let me find an edge for you. Well, let me look at the other door. So if you look at the other door here, you'll see that along this edge, it is a perfect 180-degree bend around the edge. As I'm looking down the door, that is bent perfectly around this. When we come to the bottom here, the problem is this edge needs to have the same radius as the skin. Well, this edge wants to move around, and what that tool ended up wanting to do, it wanted to turn it into a 90-degree edge. Now this one, you can see the bottom of this door is rolled over and the door skin's all bent up. So that's a super easy thing to have happen. And like I said, again, it's not the end of the world. And honestly, if push really came to shove and I couldn't get that to look anything near decent, these trucks came with molding on the bottom of the doors, so we could employ the old hide technique if needed, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. But you know what? You live, you learn, you make your mistakes, you move on, you fix it, and the next time you tackle that same kind of project, you have a little bit more knowledge, and that's where we're at for now. So the progress is continuing on the bodywork. I'm probably going to just kind of round this video out, and we'll probably continue this bodywork stuff on stream because I don't have too much else to say, like, for video. The next time you'll see me on video with this is probably just going to be an update as to where we are, like a status update on it. I'm glad I recorded this a little bit later. It's like days later, basically, because I was super disheartened. I was very, very upset with myself for not doing a great job with that, but we move on. All right, it's been a little while. Let's see how we do. It's times like these, I wish I had more gears. So a successful trip to go get some more gas for the welder, and like I said, this project will probably be continuing over there on Twitch as I continue to tackle the rust here on this ramp truck of ours. Not the most exciting or even really happy of videos here, but this is part of the process, this is part of the learning process, and no project goes smoothly. Nothing ever goes perfectly to plan, and I'm committed to showing you all of it, including the bad parts. So hold on, buckle your pants. We got a lot more to do here, and I will see you next time for more work on the ramp truck. Thanks as always for watching. Thank you all for your support. It's very appreciated, especially on days and occasions like this. It really does mean a lot to me.